Thanks very much for speaking to us. So first of all, as we were hearing there, the net profit came in high, I think, by about 3 times the consensus. Your initial thoughts to these results?
Well, I think, with Lloyds and also RBS, what the actual number is they report at the moment is probably a little less important than the underlying development, which I think shows a trend of stabilization, the banks working through their problems in sort of an ongoing repair process, really, for both.
And if I can just pick up on the point that we were making about impairments, bad debts amounted to £24 billion, but I think the figure was that in the second half, impairments actually came down by 21%. What is the significance of that?
Well, I think, impairments are really the big profit drain at these banks at the moment. And, these figures coming down, of course, are the all-important development, really.
As Poppy was saying in that report, the message they've got to get across this morning is that the worst is over, and we're not hearing that yet.
Well, of course, the banks, I think, are, in a multi-year recovery process at the moment, and this is still relatively early stages for that. So, the banks are probably not particularly keen to sound too optimistic at this stage and then to disappoint the market too quickly. So they're rebuilding their story, and therefore some caution is certainly still warranted at this point.
Lloyds is outside the asset protection scheme here. There's been a bit of criticism about that. Do you think that's overblown?
I think it probably is, because, in comparison, RBS is in the asset protection scheme, but has a very, very high first loss protection piece of £60 billion. So, maybe they'll really need that and take advantage of the scheme. But if things go normal, I would say, within expectations, they probably will pay for all these impairments themselves anyway.
As we've been saying all morning, Lloyds is, of course, 43% state-owned. Obviously, the government needs the bank to be profitable in order to get taxpayer money back, but at the same time, Lloyds needs to have control over its own affairs. So how does Eric Daniels resolve this dilemma?
Well, I think, he can resolve it by the fact that Lloyds is still a privately incorporated company, right? And as long as the government allows Lloyds to perform as such a company, I don't think that's really a big issue.
Is that happening?
Well, it seems that way, yes.
And what about the HBOS purchase? Because obviously Lloyds was saddled with bad loans, but could that eventually turn out to be a good deal as things pick up?
Well, I think eventually you would argue that it strengthens Lloyds' franchise and, will leave them a dominant force in British banking for years to come.
Quickly, will we ever have any write-backs on this loan book?
Write-back on, well, it's probably a bit optimistic at this stage.
Actually, when will we? That's the point.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, right. I'm just wondering, maybe hope springs eternal, Otto.
Yes.
Yeah.
Otto Dichtl, thanks so much for joining us.